I think the first thing to remember is that the Candida Fund and Georgia Tech both had a vision when they embarked on this partnership. So it's not necessarily what my vision is, it's what the funder and Georgia Tech envision. And one of the things that is enumerated in their agreement is that the Candida building, seeking Living Building Challenge 3.1 certification, which is the most stringent certification standard that exists right now. We're going to learn a lot about not just how to construct a building to this premier standard. We're going to learn about how to operate a building. And it's that operations side that can help us improve our operations for existing buildings. And then the construction and operations side can inform how it is that we build future buildings on campus. So the vision is for it to be a catalyst for change here on campus first.
Okay.
So we have this eco-commons concept, and we have the Dalmny building and deck that are coming online right next to the Candida building. We want to have really thoughtful features that go into both of those projects, some of which I think have been informed by the Candida building, or rather the Living Building Challenge concept. So, once you learn how to do something a new way, and that way ends up being the better way, you don't ever turn around and go back. So I think that everybody that's been on this project, from the design and construction folks to facilities, we're all looking at it as a catalyst for change. We're going to take a look at what works and what doesn't work. And what doesn't work, we're going to modify, and what works, we hope to deploy across campus. Now, for the broader Southeast, a lot of the things that's going on in the Southeast with regards to sustainability in the built environment is happening organically. It's happening organically because materials are getting more expensive, cost of energy is getting more expensive, the desire for the consumer, what they want is changing. Consumers want increased walkability in where they live and where they work. They want to live and work closer to transit, so they have those options. I think these what I call personal mobility vehicles, these birds, these limes, that's really going to change the way that we think about designing our transportation thoroughfare. So a lot of the things when it comes to sustainability in the built environment across the Southeast is changing naturally. But I just mentioned urban cores. That's not the bulk of the built environment in the Southeast. The bulk of it is still suburban. And I think that there's a lot of work that remains to be done there. A lot of it's dependent on policy. A lot of it's dependent on the price of energy. A lot of it's dependent on things that are beyond the control of any individual developer or even small municipality. There are macro forces that are at play here. Wow. Okay, I'll tell you one misconception. One misconception. Okay, so for people that know what we're talking about when we say sustainability in the built environment, one misconception is that they immediately go to solar panels. In the Southeast, they immediately go to solar panels. When you say sustainability in the built environment, they think you're talking about solar. And it's really important to remind people that renewable energy, or what we call distributed generation of energy, so that would be the generation of energy on the building site itself. From an energy perspective, is step number 2. Step number 1 is to build it as sustainable, as energy efficient as possible. So what you want to do is you want to decrease the amount of energy the building needs in the first place. So a common misconception is that people think you immediately go to solar, and that's not what you do. Even in an existing building, the first thing you do is you maximize efficiency. That's what I did in my home. The first thing I did when I bought our home was maximize the efficiency to make it more efficient than it was when it was owned by the previous owner. Then, years later, we went and got some solar, because then you need less solar. And solar and renewables is currently the more expensive component. Energy efficiency is very cheap. So if it sounds like I've belabored that point and repeated it 4 different ways and 4 different times, I felt that's almost what needs to be done, because people forget the power of not using energy. So the next component to that is we're not asking you to keep the lights off, and we're not asking you to wear a jacket when it's cold outside and shorts and when it's warm. You are able to design buildings in a way that still allow you to use that building the way it was intended. And that's one of the things that the Candida building is going to be showcased for. A lot of living buildings that exist right now, they are more focused in their use. So they might be a 9 to 5 type office building that's not really used during the weekends, or they might be a welcome center. They've got this very niche or identified use. The Candida building is going to have what's primarily a classroom with teaching labs. It primarily has classrooms and teaching labs, but it also has an auditorium. It also has a design studio. It also has offices. It has a big common area. It has indoor space. It has outdoor space. It's going to be used throughout the school year for classrooms, for teaching labs, offices, design studio, but then it's going to be used in the evenings for special events. It's going to be used on the weekends for special events. It's going to be used during the summer and when students aren't here for special events. So it's going to be a very versatile building that has lots of different uses. So that again, it reinforces that when you lead with energy efficiency, you can still design a building that accommodates all these different uses. So that's misconception number 1. Don't lead with renewables, lead with efficiency, and that's primarily a design component of the building process. Another misconception, I think, is that if you make a hyper sustainable building, but the way people get to and from it is not sustainable, then really what have you accomplished, right? So we need to think of buildings in context of humans and how people get to and from buildings. So I think it's really important to have these showcases of sustainable building design, but we need to keep our eye on making sure that our entire built environment, our land use and how we prioritize where we build and how people get to point A to point B, we also keep that in mind. So it's the sustainability of the entire sort of system, not just one building. So before I came to Georgia Tech, I had the honor to be here at Georgia Tech. I was with South Base Energy Institute for 8.5 years. And the types of projects I focused mostly on policy work there. So focused on renewable energy policy, building codes policy, some municipal level policies. Did a lot of work on sustainability plans and local energy action plans. Most recently, City of Atlanta's 100% clean energy, 100% clean energy plan. Did a lot of work on data and analysis, presenting the data in a way that it's compelling on Georgia's renewable energy assets and how to quantify Georgia's clean energy industry. So, telling the story of sustainability to different audiences that are moved by different things. Some people are moved by protecting the environment, and other people, it's not that they don't care about the environment, it's just that their more immediate concern is employment for people. So I would quantify the economic benefits that the clean energy industry has for the state. What's that to say is it's totally different. This is totally different. and what I did before, I think, prepared me for the multifaceted
and I love that.
impact this building we seek to have with this building. So what I've done before in many ways is totally different, but very complementary to what we're doing here.